Hello BookTube! This time I'm coming to you with a review video. Or rather, because there's one novel that I'm very excited about, I want to share my thoughts about it. I'm not sure how formal a review this is going to be. So I don't have any script for this, I'm just going with the flow, so just beware, there might be some spoilers ahead. I myself don't care about spoilers, but I know there are some very sensitive people out there, so just so you know. Anyway, the book in question is Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. See, get rid of that glare a bit. Yeah, and here is our author. And this is Kawai Strong Washburn's debut novel, published in 2020. And what a remarkable debut novel it is. Mainly this novel has to deal with Hawaiian heritage and family dynamics, and it is done so exceptionally well, in my opinion. Now we follow one Hawaiian family, the parents and their 3 children. And one of the children is called Nainoa, or Noah for short, and he falls into the ocean and miraculously gets rescued by a shark. And then they and other people start to think that there might be some legend or mythology and all that kind of folk belief, involved, that this child is, bestowed with miraculous powers and brings fortune and all that kind of stuff. Whether or not that is in any way true, that is a bit unclear, but that's how they believe for the longest time. Now, as you can imagine, when one child suddenly, gets more attention, you can imagine what that does to his head or his mind, and what that does to the other children. Like, obviously that can cause some, can cause them to become more resentful and sort of jealous about him, and how this one child gets more attention while the others get neglected. So all the children grow up and they go their separate ways to America, different parts of America, to study, some kind of education for themselves. And the parents stay behind in Hawaii. Now they occasionally stay in touch with each other, but they struggle to keep their relationships together. And then what happens at some point is that one of the children dies, and that forces the other 2 children come back to Hawaii. And from there on, it is all about knitting the family back together. And that is done structurally, I think, so well. First of all, from the point of view of family dynamics, we get 5 different perspectives, and each reveal some of reveal some mental difficulties, or what's wrong in their relationships, and we get to know their individual problems as well. And what's also great about this 5-person this point of view perspective is that Washburn uses those perspectives very well to his advantage. Like, there's one voice that we never hear until the very end, and when we get to hear that perspective, it feels even more powerful, and we get this sense of cohesiveness, and that the family is whole and together. And other thing about structure is that it sort of comes a full circle in the end. But this might sound a bit silly, but in my opinion it's not really a circle, but rather a boomerang. Like, the children leave Hawaii, they sort of set things in motion, and when one child dies, then the boomerang or the children come back to the beginning, or close to where they left, at least. Now I might read you some small passages to give you an idea what this is about. Let's start with these chapters that reveal samples that tell about this family dynamics, because that's really important. Like, all right, first one, just imagine, or you don't probably have to imagine, that you are an older brother and you have siblings, and how you would feel if your younger brother died. Yeah, use that famous empathy of yours. I was supposed to be the older brother. Oh, let's start again. I was supposed to be the older brother, but after that day it was like every day he was growing up faster, until it was like I was the younger brother. And now here I am, carrying the last piece of clothing to touch his blood. So just imagine how that might feel if your brother was dead and you were holding that last piece in your hands. And then another one. I've never felt his death, really. Not the way I thought I was supposed to, heavy and dramatic. Until right now. It comes down on me like a wave, jacked up to its full height, and me the shore. Jesus Christ, he's gone. He's completely gone. No more phone calls with his hyper-intelligence that pissed me off. No more living link between how we were in our Hanabata days, giggling and reading on the couch together. No more is there the idea that we could get back to that or something like it in the future, something bigger and richer. No more bright pride from mom and dad. If not for me, then at least I could still live off the warmth, even if I wasn't the fire starter. No more, no more, no more. Someday I would be the same. And everyone I loved. Nothing. So yeah, this is full of little punchy emotional moments like that. And now we know that one of the brothers or one of the children is dead. And here we are burying the child. And this is told from the mother's point of view. Do you remember the tiny curl of your fingers, the dimples on the backs of your hands in that first year of your life? The complete contemplation in those fingers as they wrapped around mine. Hours of your frogged arms and legs against my chest, both of us deep in sleep, your downy cheek against mine. Now we are on our knees, your father and brother and me, and we place the lei in the pit, and the soil slides back over it, like an eyelid closing that will never open again. How can you just imagine the mother's grief at that point? And as you noticed, she is addressing that speech to the dead child, which makes it all the more powerful. And there's two more samples that I would like to read if you still have patience. And this is from the point of view of Noah, as he is working as a paramedic. And here he is on the scene where they find a patient whose heart isn't beating. And they try to figure out what's wrong. Right. Maybe the drugs, I said. Let's try again. I stitched my fingers together, put the edge of my palm into his sternum, and compressed, careful to avoid the xiphoid process and the hemorrhage that could follow its snapping. His body. At the beginning it was just him, a man, but my eyes and teeth pinched as I compressed his chest, the oxygenated gasp of everything that moved in him. And then I felt as if I were squinting my brain. He was the him I saw, but also a him I felt. I felt the weave of his skin and the buttery chunks of fat underneath, the hush and rush of what could only be his blood, so long and blowing, all of this just a feeling. It was nothing I saw. There were other muddled sensations deeper down, but strongest was an effervescent urge. His body, eager to start repairing itself. But even that came and went so quick I still couldn't separate all the this from the that. There were colors I felt. He had the yellow tarry rush of meth's hate booming through his veins. Then the jagged red memories of anger that came and went like thunderheads inside his skull. A color I'd felt many times before. And all the while the truth of my hands, chest compressions, shoving blood around his husk. I was on my knees and over the patient, my palms at his sternum, dropping my weight down and letting it come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on and on and on. The liquid pop of the already broken ribs went like a clock. Something sparked. It certainly wasn't the compressions. It was only that I was searching, the same as I always am when I do this now. Searching and feeling and trying to understand what the injury was. At the same time that I understood what his body should be. I think something had already started. And what we get from that small sample is that Noah here obviously doesn't sort of know what's wrong, but he feels like he could make some kind of connections to make this body whole again, make this body working, living and breathing. And that's, I think, is rather, what's the word now? An analogy? Analogous with the entire story. Like Like there's this sense that something is broken. There are elements that are separate, and something needs to be done to bring that cohesiveness and unity back together. Not just the unity of the family, but the unity of Hawaiian heritage. So yeah, before I read the final sample, I still want to recommend this book to you. This is excellent portrayal of family dynamics and Hawaiian heritage. If that is your cup of tea, or whatever similar expression I could use, then definitely pick this up. Now, the final sample, I think, is sort of a perfect summary of what this book sort of is, or what the story does. So, here it goes. Here I am, I think to myself, not as a declaration, but as an offer. This is where I should have been all along. I should have stayed in the islands, worked harder to listen. What did I think I could have accomplished alone, trying to mend broken bodies on the mainland? A whole parade of patience couldn't teach me as much as a place like this. Connections are leaping out at me, revealing themselves without any effort from me. The way my sweat takes the cells of my skin, mingled with dirt from my body and drops them into the soil, and how the mist drapes the trees and the trees drink of it, and then the sun lights it up and takes it back into the air, and how the plants breathe and their exhale becomes my inhale, the same way so many of the people of these islands once pressed their foreheads together in greeting and inhaled the same air as one. Sharks in the Time of Saviors. Go and read it.